Howdy brewers, sorry I've been missing the last couple of weeks. It's just been really busy, so I haven't had a chance to post. But here is the rice lager that I will now roll the footage of for how the brew day went. Howdy brewers, today we're going to be brewing a rice lager. So we've got just over 1 litre of rice, it's 1 kilogram. And the first thing we need to do is rinse it before we cook it. And cooking will help gelatinize the rice, otherwise you won't get any starches from it or convert any starches from it when you put it in the mash. So if you don't know how to rinse rice, put it in a pot, add some water, stir it around a few times, empty it out, and then when you're satisfied it's rinsed enough, put it in a pot of boiling water and cook it. So, just rinsing the rice. Imagine you're mashing in but with your hands and it's cold water. So, and you can see how cloudy that water is now, and I'll do that probably 3 or 4 times before I start to cook it. So we have our rinsed rice, and as I said it's just over 1 litre, so there's just over 2 litres of water in the pot coming up to the boil. If you're unsure how much water to add, just go by the instructions on the packet, because you're cooking the rice for at least 30 minutes to gelatinize. So I know the Complete Joy of Home Brewing recommends breaking up the grains of rice. I'm not going to worry about it this batch, and I'll see how I go for extract efficiency. So I'll cook this for 30 minutes before we mash in. Cheers. Okay, we're just getting our mash water up to temperature. I'm going to do 45 minutes at 64 degrees and 25 minutes at 71 degrees for the beta and alpha amylase rests, and then I'll mash out at 76. But here's the brewing water. I've got 1.5 teaspoons of calcium chloride, half a teaspoon of gypsum, and 0.3 of a gram of sodium metabisulfite. And that's because of the chlorine levels of the water, of my water supply. So that'll help get rid of the chlorine out of the water. So that's the cooked rice, and it really does look like stuck sparge country. So anyway, we'll see how I go. I haven't got any rice hulls or anything like that. So I've got 3 kilos of Pilsner malt, and well, it's uncooked, it was 1 kilo, and it's absorbed most of the water, so it's likely to be 2+ kilos of cooked rice. Anyway, we'll just see how I go. First time, and I'll give some tips when I finish. As you can see, there's a little bit of scorching that went on when I was cooking the rice. I was careful not to grab any of the burnt rice because it gives off quite a strong flavour. The mash, it seemed to the rice, once it hit the water and mixed around, it seemed to separate pretty well. But we will keep an eye on it to see whether it gets stuck or not. Hopefully not, but like I said, and as you saw earlier, the rice was pretty gluggy, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this is one thing I haven't done for years because of the I've only ever used barley or rye in my beers, but this is a starch conversion test. So got some iodine, and it's only been going about 30 minutes, the mash, and I'm using a lot of white rice, so high in starches. Remember, if it goes black, starches aren't converted. As you can see, it's gone black, staying black. So while normal new grains might give you a full conversion within 30 minutes, as you can see,
The rice beer will not. So make sure you do the iodine starch conversion test. Okay, I'm up to sparging, and I don't know if you can hear the trickle, but it's really slow. So I'm going to have to take the top perforated plate off in a minute and try and just stir the grain bed enough to get a faster sparge going. Yeah, it'll make the wort cloudy, but as you can see, the amount of proteins in it already from the rice, it's very cloudy already, so I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. And I'll just leave it sit a bit longer after the boil, so all those proteins can collect under the pump outlet. So we're just doing a bit of decanting of the rice lager into the keg. I won't keg condition this one. I'll just force carbonate it. But I mean, have a look how pale that is. Can't wait to see it in the glass.
Welcome back. So here's the rice lager. In terms of a review, it smells really clean. It's slightly sweet, like a grain sweetness, malted barley sweetness. When you first open your packet of grain ready to brew, it's sort of that sort of sweetness, and it does have a little bit of dry white wine characteristic in the aroma and the flavour. It's really well balanced. I'm really happy with the 3470 yeast in this beer, and the hops I used, I would have liked a bit more of their true characteristics to come out. So the flavour aroma hops I used were Santiam hops, but you do get a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of spice. I use Super Pride as the bittering hop, and if you haven't used Super Pride, then it is. Yeah, so the hops, you do get a good amount of pepper and spice, but I could have handled or would have liked a lot more to come through. I don't know if it's in the film, but there is just the sparge was a nightmare with all the rice that I had in there. Next time, because this is an excellent beer, one of the best I think I've ever made. But it needs rice hulls or oat hulls or something to help with the mash. With the brew day, even though the sparge was virtually stuck, I still ended up with an unbelievable efficiency of 94 something percent, and the brew house efficiency was around 87%. It was so good that I can't even actually adjust my system, because I can't see myself ever repeating such a result. So I'll stick to my 77% for grain bills less than 6 kilos, and I'll drop it down to 70% as an average for grains above 6 kilos in the grain farm. But if you have never tried using rice as an adjunct in your beer, this was 75% Pilsner, 25% dry, medium grain white rice. When it was cooked, it was 3 kilos, so it was, I don't know if you call it 50-50, I really don't know. But use some rice or oat hulls or something to help with that drainage, because it would have taken hours to do the sparge, and so I just stirred the grain bed to be able to get some flow through, and it still took 45 minutes, which is longer than I care to take when I'm sparging. So in the end, if you've never done a rice beer and you're keen to try one, if you live in a hot climate like I do, this is really refreshing. And if you've never tried one of those sort of very rare hops, or you don't see reviewed or anything like that, Santiam is a brilliant hop for a lager. So Anyway, on that note, happy brewing.